The group was in the middle of a bicycle race when the support rider's stamina was almost depleted. Jack suddenly burst into a rapid sprint. He started making extreme turns, leaning so hard that his bike almost touched the ground while drifting. The turns were steep, but Jack managed to keep his speed through each one, even though his chin was scraped raw by the ground. But he had no intention of slowing down. His only focus was moving forward. To gain a 4-second lead, Jack was beyond caring about the pain. Mike was chasing from behind, thinking Jack was a formidable opponent, but the person he expected to appear before they entered the final lap was nowhere to be seen. As they finished the turn, they were both stunned. Jack not only accelerated ahead, but had already left them far behind on the bend. Now Jack was nearing the last kilometer before the finish line, and he wasn't letting his guard down for a second. Mike pushed himself to the limit, realizing that if they didn't catch up to Jack now, he would definitely be the winner. But Mike was running out of energy. Suddenly, Carl grabbed Mike's body, telling him to relax, leaving the rest of the race to him. In the final stretch, he wasn't going to give up. Mike realized Carl was planning to go all out, so he extended his hand to push Carl forward. Mike used his last ounce of strength to forcefully push Carl ahead. Mike had entrusted his heart to Carl. Everyone cheered Mike on. The finish line was near. Carl was struggling to close the 4-second gap with Jack. Jack was still accelerating, maintaining his lead. Carl was the best rider in their academy, and everyone knew Kevin was also very strong. The audience couldn't believe it. The two strongest riders were falling behind. With 800 meters to go, Kevin suddenly surged forward, passing Carl. Carl then took off his sunglasses, deciding to get serious. He unleashed all his power, and immediately caught up with Kevin. They both recalled last summer, on the small path in the field, when they had made a pact. If they were ever neck and neck again, they would give it their all in race without any regrets. Carl and Kevin shouted each other's names, knowing they had to give everything, because they both failed last year. Now, they had to win. Kevin clenched his fists. They had trained hard all year. Now, they were catching up to Jack. They could finally see Jack's figure ahead. Jack was shocked when he saw them. He hadn't slowed down, but now Carl and Kevin had caught up to him. With just 500 meters left to the finish line, Jack's excitement grew, because if he stayed in the lead, he wouldn't feel any sense of accomplishment even if he won. Now, Jack was interested. He pumped his legs harder, and although Carl and Kevin were still chasing, Jack's acceleration widened the gap again. Carl and Kevin were best friends, but if they relied only on themselves, they would have lost by now. Jack thought that disgusting friendships were the most useless things. On the racecourse, victory could only be achieved with one's own legs. Other emotions, to Jack, were just unnecessary distractions. To win, he didn't care about his image anymore. Only by disregarding these things could he see the essence of victory. If possible, Jack even wanted to remove his bones, eliminating anything that affected his speed. His only goal was to move forward, pushing himself relentlessly. In the final 300 meters, Jack chose the most difficult riding position, riding like a machine with no emotions. He left Carl and Kevin far behind. His sole focus was to be faster than anyone else. Carl and Kevin were on the brink of madness. They were gasping for breath, feeling a sensation they had never felt before, and Jack's reckless sprint was proof of his desperate desire to win. Carl and Kevin gritted their teeth, and they wouldn't give up until the very end. Now, with the finish line in sight, Jack didn't care about Carl and Kevin. He told them to get out of the way. Suddenly, Jack raised both hands, declaring that he would win. He had defeated the strongest riders all by himself, and the feeling was exhilarating. With 200 meters left to the finish line, Jack was ready to embrace victory.